My name is Anton Lyadov and today I am on Cuba Island. So this is the country which has gone through 60 years of economic blockade. And despite all of it, there are still some people who enjoy this life. This is how people live on Cuba Island. You know what, guys, so when I came back from Cuba, it took me around 2 weeks to write the scenario, write the plot, and after that it took me around 3 weeks to do editing, because it's really complicated process. So for example, I finalize around 10 minutes of the video per day, even if I edit around 12 or 14 hours, and sometimes I just have no time even to eat or to drink, because it's a non-stop process. And there are guys who help me with my video editing. It is HelloFresh. I'm serious, because they know I'm busy and they take care of my meals, that sometimes I don't even need to think about what exactly I want to choose every time I order food, because I can pre-schedule my meals and then I get doorstep delivery, which works very properly, and it really helps me a lot, because I cannot leave my process. I can get the food and go on. So try HelloFresh yourself. I'm serious, because it is cheaper than grocery shipping, it is 25% less expensive than takeout, and it is 70% less expensive than dining at the restaurant. What I like most about HelloFresh is that you get high quality seasonal ingredients, because it takes less than 7 days for food to travel from the farm to your home. Click the link in the description and use this promo code and you will get 65% discount and free shipping. And once you click, the link will update to count up the purchases. And it really helps us create new content, because we get supported for your every click and your every purchase. So please make the orders on HelloFresh.
People, let me guess, the three things you probably know about Cuba are Cuban cigars, Cuban rum, and that Cuba is the home of Ernesto Che Guevara, the revolutionary icon. But what if I told you that Cuba is just 2 hours away from the United States, with only 80 miles by sea separating them? Yet despite this, there is no trade between the two nations. The Iron Curtain separating Cuba and the US has been there for over 50 years now. Under the US law, no commodities that are at least 10% US made can be exported to Cuba without a special license. This is why the island has no Coca-Cola on sale, just like North Korea. You won't find Snickers or Mars candy bars in Cuba, or Nike, Reebok or Adidas sportswear. You can't shop for Levi jeans here or go for a Gucci purse. There are no Zara stores, there are special regulations in place for cars. But anyway, you won't see here any Fords, Toyotas or Mercedes. There's no access to the world's most used software, like Microsoft or even Google. You can't shop here for gadgets by Apple, Samsung, Sony or Nokia. Oil businesses like BP, Shell, Exxon Corporation are nowhere to be seen. You won't see a McDonald's anywhere. Not even at the airport or a train station. Forget about the taste of a Big Mac, you won't find it here. Instead, there's a lot of talk about local manufacturers growing up to fill the niche untouched by the foreign competitors, who can't even enter the market. If you want to see how they've worked out for Cuba over 60 years, let's take a look. This is a typical street in Havana. You can see behind me a shop that's got a batch of sausages for sale. They're very cheap, 30 Cuban pesos a pack. To be honest, that's kind of dirt cheap. Now look at all of the people queuing here. They're gathered in groups, keeping close to the trees to stay in the shade. And they queue like this for hours, trying to stay out of the sun. Some people find a seat wherever they can. That's what a typical day for people in Cuba is like. You wake up, go out, join a queue. The longer the queue, the better the stuff you'll probably get if you join it. Many of you don't know this, but it actually used to be exactly like this in the Soviet Union, when a shop that only had, say, bread and cheese would suddenly get a shipment of meat to sell. Well, in this case, sausages. How many packs can one person buy?
2 per person, but I don't know whether it's per hour or day.
Is that because of the new district rationing regulations? District rationing means you can't just shop anywhere. You can only shop in the district where you live.
Of course, they'll sell it to you, but won't sell it to me.
I can buy some for you if you wish. This woman who's wearing a mask is a nurse. She just finished her shift. I'm going to try and walk into the shop and buy something. Let's see how it works. I can feel the tension building up. It's the third or fourth queue to a shop that I've tried to approach, and every time people would start talking to each other, looking at me, passing on the information to someone about some stranger just showing up. Then some people would come and take pictures of me, follow me, and even take photos of my car. I have no idea who these people were, but I felt every time like I was about to be stopped and subjected to some interrogation. They said that since you don't live in this district, you can't be on the list. I see what it's about. I decided to try my luck and enter a shop with my camera on. As I did it, I felt people getting sort of worked up about it, and I think I can understand them. Imagine they've been queuing for hours in this unbearable heat, and then all of a sudden, a guy from another country shows up and just cuts in line ahead of them. May we enter without queuing? May we? You mean we may? Even though I'm not on the list, I still may? Yes. Only then did I realize that contrary to my expectations, people were on my side. They were trying to tell the woman in charge of either the shop or the queue that they should be nicer to a tourist. And imagine that, they just let me enter the shop, skipping the line altogether, without any lists or other papers. Here it is, a shop with almost empty shelves due to shortage of supply, just the way it was in the USSR. Look, they've just put whatever they had on the shelves so they don't look quite as empty. It reminds me a lot of Venezuela. One roll of toilet paper costs 21,000 Venezuelan bolivar. Divide that by 3, and so it's $7 per roll. But it makes more sense to compare it to the local salaries rather than rubles. An average salary will buy you just 1 roll of toilet paper. And here we see the shelves in a grocery store in Cuba. They fill them with packs of diapers. I'm not allowed in here. They only let me into the sausage department.
Sorry.
I think everyone needs that. They told us to go to the confectionery department. That means jams. It's so surreal. There are no jams, of course. The shop assistant gets the bag of goodies for me and dumps it on the counter. Like, here, off you go. It is so Soviet style. 111 pesos. Pesos for 2 packs of sausages means each pack costs about 50 US cents. In Moscow, a pack of sausages costs about $4 US. In Berlin, you can buy a pack like this for anything up to 32 US dollars. How is it possible that prices in Europe or Moscow are 6 times higher than in Cuba? Because these are different economies. Capitalism dictates that manufacturers sell their product at a price that covers all the costs, including the meat, the packaging, transportation expenses, and so on. That's how the market defines the retail price. Every manufacturer charges that or higher, depending on the brand, quality, and so on. Some may choose to cut the expenses and offer a cheaper product. That's how competition works on the market. The customers are then free to choose whether they want to pay less or more for better quality, or anything else like eco-friendly packaging, etc. Cuba, on the other hand, is a socialist economy. It means that the production costs are covered by the state, not the manufacturer. The idea, and notice that this is in principle only, is that all the production and delivery costs are to be covered by the state budget rather than by the retail price. So the idea is that citizens of Cuba should be paying only 12% of what the product really costs. The rest is to be financed by the state, but it's only an idea, as I said. The reality is that since the state has to compensate the costs to every manufacturer, it tends to run out of money pretty quickly. And so the market is always short on the supply side. The goods are cheap, but in such short supply, you have to queue for them, while other stores look like this. Here is a little shop at a gas station. Look how many shelves they've got, and they're completely empty, except for a few bottles of tequila.
Aqua? Aqua.
To be fair, not every single shop in Cuba is like this. As a rule, shops in tourist areas have more to offer. For example, this store is near a big hotel. The shelves are full, and they've got all sorts of salsa, vinegar, window cleaning products. But if you check out the meat section, you'll find all the refrigerators empty once again. And that's one of the best shopping experiences for tourists on the island. The locals have a very different experience each time. There is absolutely nothing on the shelves. The shelves are empty, and so is the fridge. The two things that they've got are some deodorant and toothpaste for whatever reason. Not because they're essential goods, just because they're available. Today they've got a shipment of this stuff. Next week, something else. That's why people have to buy things whenever they become available. Imagine what this is like for people in Cuba. They can't just go and buy whatever they need. Shopping here is akin to hunting. You never know what you'll get. And they're so relaxed about it. Like, whatever they get is okay. It's cheap, so why not? 3 years ago, when I talked to Nikolai, who lives in Caracas, he said something similar.
Rice, pasta, cereals, corn flour, coffee, sugar. I.e. all the essential food products. And as far as I understand, there's a cap on the prices of these goods. That's right, the prices are state-controlled, which is why the goods are nowhere to be seen.
No one is allowed to resell whatever they've bought near the shops. People try to observe the rules and maintain order very carefully here. There's a lot less crime in Cuba than anywhere else in Latin America. You most likely will never be mugged on the streets here. And there's no way you'll accidentally become witness to a shootout between gangs, like in Venezuela. Still, people do resell goods here, and we're about to see how. We're just driving down the street, and there's a man on the sidewalk who suddenly raises his arm. And look what he's holding. Look, he's selling some oil and sausages, and something else. Let's ask him how much he wants for it. The guy looks around as if he's selling weed. He charges almost twice the retail price we paid at the store for the sausages.
80 pesos, and that's all. There is a bag of ground meat. It's 350.
Is it expensive?
It's expensive. It's a black market price.
Have you ever shopped on the black market for sunflower oil? 600 pesos for a bottle. That's $6 US. Very expensive. However, when I called my guide and asked him if he needs any, he said yes, because oil is in very short supply in Cuba right now. The law says that oil is among the essential food products that cannot be traded on the open market. Things like rice, chicken, sugar, milk, eggs, beans, pasta, and bottled gas are rationed.
Guys, so this is the card that people use to get products from the government. So this is the pretty Soviet little book. And so every month, Cubans get from the government an amount of products, which is not big, which is not free, by the way. They pay for it around $10. But here's here's the package. Here's what included in this. So, for example, what do they get? So, first of all, so this is the package for 2 people. So, an amount of rice, here around 7 kilograms. Amount of white sugar, this is it. This is white sugar. Also a little bit of black sugar. Some spaghetti, like these ones. They get the soap which is used for cleaning, for washing their the clothes, yeah. And there are also 2 soaps for washing your head, hands, stuff like this. I did wash my head with this soap, and it's very good, yeah. As for the oil, yeah, this is it. For example, so this is the oil which is used for normally for cooking, I don't know, like something like eggs and so on. They cook everything almost. Yeah, so you need to go with your own bottle, like this one, and they will pour around half of it for 2 people. This is it.
All of this together costs about 1,000 pesos, or 10 US dollars. It's not cheap for the locals, since local salaries start at about 20 US dollars per month. But in any case, with all the queuing, one can buy all this stuff. What about other stuff, however? How do people shop for iPhones, laptops, household appliances? Young people find a way. Meet Laima. She is the daughter of a Russian woman who lives here. I'll tell you more about her later. So Laima is one of the few lucky ones to possess an iPhone. How did she get one? You've got an iPhone?
Show it, show it.
I understand it's pretty rare in Cuba.
Come on, show it. That's not true anymore. Almost everyone has an iPhone here.
Almost everyone has an iPhone here. Almost everyone has an iPhone here?
Yes, but mostly iPhone 6.
Is that an iPhone 6?
No, it's a 12.
A 12? That's really cool. How do people buy iPhones in Cuba?
It's pretty cheap here. This one or an iPhone 11 costs 40 to 500. 400. Right, 400 or 500 US dollars. That's for an iPhone 11.
What about the latest model?
An iPhone 13 costs 800.
So one could buy an iPhone 13 for around 800 bucks here.
Yes, yes.
And where do people buy them?
At a black market.
And how can I buy it?
Well, we've got an application here.
Приглашение, которое говорит...
A website.
An application?
Right, a website and an app. It's kind of like eBay.
Like eBay? Okay, I understand. Buying food, however, always remains a priority in Cuba, and it's just as true for all catering businesses. They get their supplies rationed too. There are 2 types of restaurants in Cuba, privately owned and state-owned ones. The state runs restaurants too. Imagine that. There are not many of them. This is the first one of its kind that I'm checking out. I'm very impressed by the prices. Check out these prices. A huge plate of shrimp, a whole pound, will cost you just 2 US dollars. Or you could get a plate of grilled pork for just $2.20. In the promo section, it's even better. You can get beefsteak for just $1.50, for just 1.5 bucks. A shot of locally produced rum costs 30 US cents. Have you ever seen prices like this? Let's compare them to the menu of a privately owned restaurant. A plate of stewed beef here costs $6.5, while a plate of shrimp will cost you around about 16 bucks. Seeing this, one cannot help but wish all restaurants were state-owned, right? But there is the other side of the coin here as well. Whenever you come to a state-owned restaurant, they start by giving you the menu and telling you what's not available on it. I haven't seen a place where they'd have everything on the menu so far. Right now, they told me that they're out of beef, chicken, black rice, so you can order without those. The biggest problem of all in the state-owned restaurants, however, is water supply.
Honestly speaking, the restaurant is pretty good. It's okay, yeah. But when I decided to wash my hands and I find out that the toilet is like this. Yeah, there's no even this thing for where the water should pour from. Not at all. There's some bottle. I think there should have been some water inside, but there's no. That's a big problem of water supply in many.
Are you subscribed to our channel? Not yet? The sad thing is that Anton can't go on his next adventure until you do. So pretty please, subscribe now. That's right, go ahead, click subscribe. Well done and thank you. We can continue now. Drinking water supply is an even bigger problem here. It's hard to get, not only at state-owned restaurants, but in privately owned ones too. For example, this is Havana's #1 restaurant for tourists. It's located right across the national capital, Cuba's most recognizable public building. So imagine, I've had a big day sweating under the scorching sun, and I decide to pay for a good place, and the one thing that I really want is a glass of water. So I ask for some water, please, and they tell me, we don't have any. I say, what do you mean you don't have any? And they say, well, we don't. There's no bottled water. It's all imported, and we're out, they said. No water? Sorry. I said, fuck. I lost it, you know? I lost it when I heard this. I said, how the fuck is that possible? No water? I mean, I just cracked. So they gave me some tap water and put some ice in it. Well, thanks for that at least. The locals who were accompanying me made jokes about it, saying I probably got some water from the fish tank that they had on display there. And it actually isn't so far from the truth as I'd like it to be. Cuba is surrounded by the ocean, so each building here is equipped with tanks on rooftops that collect both rainwater and freshwater supplied by the public water company. The supply runs for 4 hours per day, sometimes less, sometimes more. People use fresh water so sparingly here that whenever they collect these in tanks, it can last them for weeks. Imagine what happens to fresh water in a tank under a blazing sun in a week's time. Imagine all the bacteria there. And it also gets infested with mosquito larvae. Of course, they could use chemicals to avoid all that, but these chemicals have to be imported from somewhere else, which means they aren't even available. Because of this, local people populate their water tanks with fish that feed on the mosquito larvae. And yet, this water is not anywhere near safe enough for drinking. Another solution they came up with was to nationalize the former Coca-Cola plant and to start producing their own variety of soft drinks that are very different from the American ones. There's no Coca-Cola in Cuba. I mean the Coke that everyone else in the world knows all too well. What they have here is a local version called Tu Cola. As you can see, the logo is red and white and very similar in style to Coca-Cola's. They come in little bottles like this one. It actually reminds me a lot of the soft drinks I saw in North Korea. It looks very similar, maybe even identical.
Ну, во-первых, тут наклейка такая, видите? Все какая-то едущая, плавающая. Но при этом есть QR-код.
This bottle, however, has no QR code, unlike the bottle made in North Korea. Even though here in Cuba, they are actually connected to the World Wide Web, unlike in North Korea. Here, a QR code would actually make a bit more sense. I say, let's try it. It's locally produced and bottled in Havana. Everyone knows that Cuba is a world-famous producer of rum, and rum goes well with Coke. So my guess, their version of Coke must be pretty darn good. Let's find out. You know, it's much better than North Korea's. A lot better.
Северной Кореи гораздо.
It's very close to authentic Coke. The US produced, I mean. Because Cubans believe that theirs is actually the authentic product. There's this tiny aftertaste that reminds me of Soviet-era soft drinks. And cheap powdered drink mixes. But overall, it's pretty good. So it all looked like they're all set up and can keep on building their socialistic paradise, drinking the locally produced Coke. However, they ran into a problem with the bottles. Bottle manufacturing requires imported materials, and these are in short supply. Even the bottle caps are imported. As a result, Cuba's overall production of bottled water and soft drinks today is 10 times lower than it was only 4 years ago. Which is why you have to be very careful about your drinks when you buy them at a local fast food stand.
Guys, now I'm gonna try the street food here on this beautiful market. It is around 45 degrees plus out under the sun. And I'm gonna try this pizza, which costed me like 5th or 6th part of dollar, I think so. Yeah, and when you try it, it feels like, you know, pizza which was done by the person who has never tried pizza. Actually, I mean, it's like when we were at school and we were trying to make some pizza ourselves, it was something like that. And what I'm drinking, oh my God, this is supposed to be the lemon juice. What am I supposed to? Because it tastes more like some chemical liquid for dishwashing your clothes. Really, like Mr. Proper or Vanish, I don't know, stuff like that, if you know these brands. Seriously, with lemon.
And since I mentioned it, you won't really find any OxyClean stain remover in Cuba. because this is an American brand owned by an American corporation, so it's not available. The island is buzzing with life that I feel like I'm not really a part of, but rather a ghost that all these cars from the past can drive right through. Look at all these old, wonderful cars. Just listen to their noises. They're so cute. It reminds me of the cartoons from my childhood, when the characters drove cars exactly like these. Or you can take a breath of Havana air, and it suddenly feels like you're in some good old American movie, and someone like Frank Sinatra is about to enter scene in a Cadillac or a Lincoln. Old Havana has an unforgettable atmosphere. Well, there are places here where people wash and dry disposable face masks, but downtown, it's all so different. It smells of the ocean and something grilled. Someone's cooking something. Here, you can see some street art, a portrait of Salvador Dali on a building. You can hear salsa music playing right around the corner. In this patio, some lady is being so emotional having an argument with someone, and it feels so authentic, so Cuban. You can see cats on the street, absolutely everywhere. This one looks at me like he knows me. Here's a mother with a baby taking some fresh air on a balcony that has no railings. But first things first, I need to get a room. I didn't book anything and want to try and get a room by walking into a hotel. That's where things seem to go wrong, however.
This is the price for the single.
Yeah. Okay. But it's pesos.
No, this is US, but in the credit card. This is pesos.
$1,000 per night? $1,000?
Es increíble, pero que mire los precios.
Seriously? If I pay cash, it's different?
It's the same, because it's this price.
And this is just a regular hotel. We aren't talking about presidential or luxury suites here. Let's try to figure it out. It says here that a room costs 24,000 pesos per night. How much is it in dollars?
The US is per 24.
I see what this is about now. I completely forgot that it happens in some countries, when the governments just dictate whatever currency exchange rate that they want to have at that moment, while in reality, it's completely different. Here it's 100 pesos per US dollar. This room should cost 4 times less than it is officially. I leave the hotel very pissed, and I realize I need to eat something just to calm down.
Okay guys, now I'm gonna try their crocodile meat. It's not that I decided to eat a crocodile. In almost all of the restaurants here, it is a main dish. I mean, around this farm. It tastes like someone fried it in oil, in the butter, for a long time, yeah. And if you describe, it's not that I wouldn't eat this type of dish in ordinary life, honestly. It's something like also liver when you eat it, and it falls down in many small pieces. And if you ask me about the taste, I would say it's similar to, for example, chicken, something like this. Okay, it's worth trying, but I wouldn't eat it in an ordinary life. So let the crocodiles, let them alive.
I'm back in Old Havana and loving what I see around. Here some guys are playing football in the street, using a brick to mark the goalposts, just like we did as kids. And they keep losing the ball too. Here guys are playing dominoes. Kids playing mumbly peg, just like I did as a kid. You look into the window and see a woman giving a manicure to her friends. 50 pesos a pop. Look at this window. It serves as a shopping display now. You've got some hangers, hair combs, juice makers and whatnot. Everything's for sale in Cuba. Look at the elderly couple. They keep a clothes repair shop. Don't they look so cute? Not just a man and his wife, but a business team, till death do them part. Look at the pretty girls in colourful miniskirts with all those old-time cars driving by. I could look at this forever. It's so fascinating getting a glimpse of the people's lives here. Here's a guy watching some news on TV, sitting next to a fan. Here's an artist finishing some abstract painting of his. And here, a lady is being serenaded. Serenaded for real. This guy is performing a serenade.
And now I'm gonna do it. Oh, this is awesome, guys. This is awesome, absolutely. I don't know how to explain it, but this is very special to smoke this cigar on Cuba. Really, I never tried anything like that, never. The big difference between smoking the cigars somewhere outside and smoking it here in Cuba, you know what? I think I feel the difference. I'm gonna try to explain it. I'm gonna try and explain it to you. You know what it feels like? It feels like your tongue feels this tobacco. What I mean, it's something like when you eat a tomato, which is just the natural tomato. When you just like tomato from Azerbaijan, for example, yeah. When you spite it and you feel like all the taste, all your mouth is full of this tomato's taste, and this is the same with tobacco here. You feel this leaf, you feel this tobacco. You feel this cigar is living its life the same as you do. Really sorry for this strange comparison, but it is, yeah. All this socialism stuff, me personally, so it's not about that, yeah. Here you come and you just feel something different. You know what? There are a lot of big companies, big international companies, which try to make a model of growing Cuban tobacco in different countries. They did all the same. They grew the tobacco with the same temperature, with the same amount of humid, and so on. But it didn't work. Not a country managed to do anything a little bit the same at all. No. It's only here.
Check out this gorgeous 1955 Cadillac Eldorado. I almost feel like I'm seated in some fancy themed diner with cars, waiting for my burgers and fries. I literally feel like a king of all glamour now. And all it takes is just to get into this gorgeous car, like this one, and roam the streets of Old Havana with style. I'm telling you, I feel like $1 million, and it costs just $30 US per hour. These cars were the best the tech industry could offer back in the day. State of the art. They had self-leveling suspension, electric power steering, and that's in the 1960s. And memory foam seats, dual climate control, cruise control. And by the way, none other than Frank Sinatra did own a Cadillac just like this one, among many others. My friends, I am just lost for words. It's unbelievable. It's like I'm sailing in a yacht. Driving this car is like sailing a yacht. I actually cannot even drive straight. I mean, it either goes left or right, so you have to keep steering all the time. Another unusual thing is that the rear view mirrors are tiny. I can't see a thing in them. They're just for show. I have to turn my head and look around in order to maneuver, but it feels absolutely spectacular. I feel like I'm Elvis Presley, no less. In the 1960 heist film Ocean's 11, Sinatra's character drives a Cadillac Eldorado, just like this one. cool ride like this will cost you $30 per hour, which equals to the average monthly salary on the island. Why so expensive? Because everything that has to do with cars is expensive in Cuba. First of all, gas is in short supply, and therefore very expensive.
Typical day at Cuban gas station, so you can see there is a pretty big queue there, and a lot of motorcycles are staying here. It's because there's no electricity at the moment. They just turned it off, and they're just waiting, yeah. And to get the gas here in Cuba is a little bit tricky, seriously, because really drivers sometimes go and say like, thanks God, let's pray. Sometimes drivers go and say like, let's pray there's gonna be fuel. It's true. And it's, by the way, pretty expensive here.
You never know if you can get some gas on any given day. You have to hunt for it like you hunt for food here. Look here, this guy has got some gas for his motorcycle. He takes care not to spill a drop. This is a 1952 Chevrolet. It's a US made. The platform here. So it got here prior to the revolution? Yes, it did, before the revolution. These car repair shops are like magic boxes, where old car owners continue to do whatever magic keeps them running, 70 years after they were made. Check out this Chevrolet pickup truck. It used to be a Chevrolet, but now it's more like a Frankenstein's monster of a truck, made of parts from all over the world, and some of them aren't even car parts. Listen to what he says about the engine. What brand is the engine? It's a C engine. C-boat engine. Yes. And the pump? It's Hyundai. Hyundai. So Japanese. Modern. Right. This is from a contemporary Mercedes car. This from a Toyota. A Toyota, right, okay.
The curious detail about Cuba is that the cars here can be more expensive than property. I'm serious. So, for example, you can buy a house for around $10,000-$15,000. And if we speak about the cars, for example, this one will cost you starting from $30,000. Really. And the reason why is deficit. I mean, so there's not enough of cars, and a big amount of cars was imported to Cuba before revolution. It means 60 years ago. So this is why almost all the men who own the cars, they have a great skills of repairing, because at least once a week it will break down and you need to repair it anyway. So if you want to drive a car, be prepared to lay down under it and repair. Yeah, this is how it works here.
Imagine what it's like to have to fix a European car in a country that has no authorized dealers or service providers or anyone capable of ordering the parts you need from the factory. More than that, Cuba has been cut off from accessing any of the websites on the internet where the manufacturers share manuals and repair tips. So he somehow finds these on the web. Sure, of course, on the web. And he fixes the cars himself. Of course he does. Where did he learn to do it? He studied at an institute. He's a mechanic. That's what keeps the streets in Cuba busy, and why you can still drive any of these gorgeous cars worthy of a museum.
La cubre. La cubre.
La cubre. Ese es camiones.
Sí.
Camiones. Allá abajo.
Habana Vieja.
Sí, Habana Vieja, la cubre,
La
los
cubre.
camiones. Camiones.
The driver offered a collectivo ride. I think he means that there are other passengers in the car. Yep, I was right.
Look at this gas. It looks like some kind of... Look at this gas. It's awesome. This car, which is like transferred to be a box. Background, people in front. We just we go, some take off, new ones get on. Interesting.
The locals in the same car here are paying only 50 pesos per person. Besides the driver, another guy comes along. He collects money and drives shotgun. But if they need more seats, He gives up his and goes into the back. If there are no seats in the back, he has a tiny stool that he unfolds to sit on next to the passengers. Look how the driver of this car is cooling his drinking water bottle. He has it in a bag outside the window, so it gets cooled down by the air as the car moves.
Guys, really, I fell in love with Cuba and you all need to try it. I really advise you. The wind in the evening is extremely special. It is a little bit humid. It is very, very gentle. It goes through your hand as if your mom or your girlfriend or your wife or your kids are hugging you, seriously. Take a chance to visit Cuba to be hugged by it. Yeah, sounds like that, guys. Guys, if you like my video and if you like what we're doing, I would really appreciate if you support us on Patreon, on Pioneer or on PayPal, and we try to make even more great films from new dangerous places for you. Thank you. All the links are in the description. Please donate.